So, you want to be a missionary, but are you called? That's probably the second biggest question I get asked about being a missionary. Am I called to be a missionary? And I understand that, like I get how we often hear from people who are retired as missionaries, or the books you read about people, there's always a section about like the kind of the missionary call, right? And there's often stories involving either like some really clear kind of voice from God, or some kind of just like string of coincidences of just, you know, continually bumping into people from Belize or somewhere, or you know, like waking up and like opening your Bible and there's like a leaf in it, and you study the leaf and you find out it's from like this rare forest somewhere in like the mountains of Mongolia or whatever. And so we have a desire to go somewhere. We're really passionate to go and share with people about Jesus. We want to help the church in a specific way in a specific country, and yet we don't have a call. It's like we're expecting a literal call from God, and you know, we have our phone and we're looking at it and we're like going through, I don't have any missed calls that I can see. We want the call from God. And you know, I had the same thing when I was thinking about becoming a missionary to Japan. In some ways, I guess I had like a series of turns in my life that had led me to go to Japan for a year. And I was there, and yeah, it wasn't always easy, and I could see the tough things about being in Japan, but I felt like, yeah, actually, I feel like I could live here long term. And I'm hearing from Christians there that there is a need in the church that I could help fit, but I didn't have a call. And so I would often go onto this kind of cliff top that overlooked the city of Sendai, where I was living for that year, and I would pray for the city, and I was always thinking and asking and hoping for a call from God, some kind of clear, this is it, this is what you're meant to do, what you're meant to go to. And it didn't happen. And then actually one morning I was kind of reading through the book of Acts in kind of my morning devotion times, and I got to Acts chapter 16, and there's a story in there called kind of Paul's vision of the man of Macedonia. And this is what it says in Acts chapter 16 from verse 6. It says, "During the night Paul had a vision of a man of Macedonia standing and begging him, 'Come over to Macedonia and help us.' After Paul had seen the vision, we got ready at once to leave for Macedonia, concluding that God had called us to preach the gospel to them." And I read that and I thought, yeah, that's what I want. This really clear calling, like unmistakable, unavoidable, like a vision in a dream or something. I thought, that's what I need. But then the next second, I had another thought, which was, actually, I've not had a dream of a person from Japan calling me to come, but I had spoken to Japanese Christians who had said to me, Levi, like, please stay long term, please come back. And so I just had this realization that maybe actually that was my calling. I didn't have the sort of supernatural missionary call that I'd heard about, but I had real life Japanese people saying to me, calling me to come back long term. And actually, as I spoke to wives and older people and asked them about this, the conclusion was pretty much like, well, yeah, like, seems like obvious really. But you know, the weird thing is actually in the beginning of this chapter, if you go back just like a little paragraph, like from here to here, then we find out about Timothy. And Timothy and Paul, they kind of travelled around a lot. And Paul, obviously, you know, he was like the apostle guy. He had like this big kind of clear calling from God to go. But Timothy, well, his call to be a missionary was very simple. It was just Paul coming to his town, meeting him, hearing from people that Timothy was a good lad, someone who would be helpful for Paul's kind of missionary work. And so Paul said to Timothy, hey, I want you to come with me. And that was it. Timothy just had a normal person come to him and say, hey, there's work for you to do over here. I want you to come. And for you, probably that may be the same thing. You may be thinking like, I want to be a missionary. I feel like I have a real passion for this place and I'd love to go, but I'm waiting for a calling. But actually, if you've had people, especially people from that country, like local Christians, say, hey, yeah, actually, we'd like you to come. We see that you would fit and work well here. Well, probably you are called, whether or not you have the kind of official missionary calling. If you are called by people to come somewhere, you don't need the kind of voice from heaven thing. And by the way, look, I believe that still happens. I believe that some people do have those kind of callings, and I think if you have kind of a whole load of crazy things happen, which just makes it clear like I've totally been pushed in this area that I didn't expect to be going to, or you get that, then sure, you want to take that seriously, and maybe that is God calling you. But even if you don't have that kind of calling, you don't need it, because you have God calling you both through His Word, but probably also through His people, the church. And now maybe you still have other questions and things you're not sure about, in which case, please do drop a comment below. But I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you again in the next video.